Hi students, welcome guys. Just getting ready to get started here with the ACT reading section. Welcome to the video. Hopefully you guys are ready to go for some ACT reading today. By popular request, we are going to take a look at the 69A test from I think it was 2010 maybe, 2010. So the 69A reading section, we had a request to talk about the humanities passage from that section. We're going to talk about some advanced, I don't know what you want to call it, advanced techniques, I guess, for the test. Specifically, it relates well to this idea. It relates well to the humanities passage because that's my favorite passage. It's the one that I think that you guys are going to. It's the one that I feel that I know how to do the best. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we get more students coming on here, and yeah, then we'll get going. So again, this is the 69A. Let me just type this in here. 69A. Reading passage. Section 3. Passage. Okay, a couple things. Students had some good ideas here. Okay, some students had some good ideas, I think, last week. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to post the 69A test. I wish we were able to, but that is not allowed by the ACT. So we can't post it. Potentially you guys, I don't want to get into that too much, but you can find it. It used to be readily available. It's not as readily available as much anymore. But you guys can go find it. So it's, again, the 69A reading test, section number 3 in the humanities passage. I'll let everybody get set up with that passage. Can everybody confirm with just a thumbs up or a like of the video or whatever that you guys have that passage in front of you before we get started? We'll talk a little bit about kind of these advanced testing techniques, I guess you could call them, advanced testing techniques, specifically related around this humanities passage. So just let me know that you guys are ready to go here, and we'll get started. Again, we're looking at 69A, humanities passage, which is the third passage always. I haven't really looked at passages, so this would be a good one for us. I haven't actually looked at this passage before. I haven't looked at passages before really in 2014 or 15 for whatever reason. It's around, I think 2013 was when I first officially started doing this, so it's been about 7 years now. Started working with ACT and SAT students, so I haven't really looked at passages before 2013-14, so this would be a good one to go through. The good news is the reading section rather, outside of that double passage really hasn't changed over the course of the last 20 years. So there is a double passage that I don't think shows up on this test. Yeah, I forget when the double passage. I think the double passage was enacted or whatever, like in like 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. So yeah, let's get started here, guys. The first thing I want to bring up here is that the reading section, so from advanced test taking technique, understanding which passages are the best for you is extremely important on the reading section. Okay, and what I mean by that is, for example, I know that passage number 3, the humanities passage that we're going to do today, fortunately for me, is that this is my best passage. Number 3 is always my best. I don't know why. But the only way that I figured that out was by taking practice tests and timing myself per section and really trying to break down how long was this specific passage going to take me. And once you break that down, then in my opinion, it's a horrible idea. And I haven't mentioned this in past reading videos. I probably should have if you guys have watched other videos of ours. But it's my feeling that setting a specific time limit per passage for each passage, the same time limit, is a horrible idea. So you get a lot of people that say, like, make sure that you're going 8:45 or 9 minutes per passage. For an advanced test taker, that's a terrible idea. And what you guys will see from our old videos is that I think in the first passage is my worst passage. So while 3 is my best, 1 is my worst. The only way to know that is by taking individual passages, timing yourself on those passages, and then figuring it out. I still, as you guys have seen in our other videos, I still take it 1, 2, 3, 4, the passage order like that. But I know that if I spend 10 10.5 minutes on passage number 1, which is way above time for what you typically get per passage. And again, if you set your timer as like, I have to move on from passage 1 at this specific time, then you don't get the opportunity to see, to know that passage number 3, I usually finish in about 7 minutes. And it's just because I love these passages. I'm really interested in the biographies that are typically in there. One of the videos I know we did about Robert Louis Stevenson, I think, a couple months ago. That was super interesting to me. So because I know that I'm going to fly through passage 3, and for whatever reason it happens every single time. Every time I sit down to take a test, 3 is my go-to passage. Number 1 takes me a little bit longer because I'm never really that interested in the narrative. For an advanced test taker, timing yourself per passage and figuring out how long it's taking you approximately is super key, because then if you know that you take a while on passage number 1, but you know that you can fly through 3 and 4, just like is the case for me, 3 and 4 are my 2 best, 3 being the best, 4 being second best, then I know that when I get to 3 and 4, even if I'm behind time at that point, if I really buckle down, I'm going to get through those passages really quickly. Those ones tend to be way more straightforward and a lot easier to understand for the most part. So that's a very, very kind of advanced test-taking technique, to not set your timer for just the generic amount per passage, doing the 35 divided by 4 thing. Don't do that if you're hoping to get above a 30 on the reading section. It's much better to slow down, first by starting to take untimed passages altogether, and then slowly working into timed passages, but timed passages individually, where you have a sense of as to how long each individual passage is going to take you, and then finally working into the full timed passage for the entire test. If you take those 3 steps, because of how easy the questions really are on the reading test, if you understand the passage and you know where you are in the test and you feel comfortable in that way, the questions and the passages are truly written at an 8th grade reading level, and the questions follow suit in terms of their difficulty. But it's just about being methodical and not just taking test after test after test and trying to reason why you're not seeing the results. So for everybody watching, everybody following along, does that all make sense? It's an advanced testing technique that we use really with students to try to get them above, anytime I said 30, but maybe 28 plus on the reading section. That's really what we encourage. So that's what we'll work on today too. Although we're not going to time today. I want to make sure that you guys have an understanding of it. We might time actually, in fact, we will. I'll show you how long it takes me to read this, how long it takes me to read the passage. One of the other things that you guys will know from our previous videos is I'm very adamant that don't try to make up time by reading the passage faster. Make up time by reading the passage slower, understanding it, and then flying through the questions. For those, again, that have seen our previous videos, I'm never worried about how long the passage takes me to read. I'm far more worried about making sure that when I read it very thoroughly so that I can fly through the questions, and it works almost every time. But by far our most positive response to our videos in the past have been our ACT reading videos, both for the SAT and the ACT. By far, the ACT reading videos have been our best videos. And I think what we're really trying to show you guys, and then we'll get started here with passage number 3 on the 69A test form, really trying to show you guys is the passages really are that straightforward. They really are that simple. And it's just about really being confident in your reading by preparing first. Okay? Is that all good, guys? So having said all that, let me move in. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Doesn't help you guys. The 69A test form that we have, unfortunately, is not great in terms of quality. Maybe you guys have a better one, but we have just the same one from like Crack ACT that used to be available. So we will jump into that here in a second. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set a timer. This is how I would, if I was working on this right now, this is how I would prepare. I'm going to set a timer for myself for how long it takes me to read, and then I'll stop when I'm done reading. I'll stop you guys, and we'll stop the timer, and I'll show you that, again, I'm not that concerned even if it takes me 6 minutes to read the passage, because I really think I can get through the questions quickly. And that tends to happen every time, and it happens even more so on passage number 3, this humanities passage, because I definitively feel like this is my best passage, and I don't think it by pretty wide margin, this tends to be my best one. Okay, so I'm going to read through it. I hope you guys will follow along as well. Again, this is test 69A on the reading test, 69A, passage number 3 on the reading test form 69A. Okay, I'll start the timer now. Architectural portraitist, that's what he's referred to. That's probably important. Pictures through the accuracy of the scientific photograph. So he paints very, very vivid portraits, it appears. Okay, that's a comparison. He's a perfectionist. Comparison again, not true. They might say, where was he born? They moved to Harlem. Stay here for the rest of his life. Stay hard, but being financially independent. Buried in this church. Occasion trips away. The longest. Okay, the longest. Like if they're bringing up the longest trip, that might be important. Because the longest trip, right? If it's the longest or the shortest of anything, or the tallest or the right, whatever, those tend to be something that's easily brought up. What was the longest trip that he made, right? Something like that in the question. So. Okay, remember in some previous videos, I said italics were very important, generally speaking. He spent 6 weeks there, so he spent 6 weeks at the Don. Oh wait, no, and the appearance, the smaller, older, yeah. Soaring God. Well, I guess that's the other one. Three paintings which are among the supreme masterpieces. 3 paintings. That's come up here. Work routine, same for each church. First, detail on so this is all about his process, right? How he does it, process. If that comes up, he converted these studios into more polished drawings, just so that in some cases, drawings into painting. So he was a draftsman. They talked about him in Bermuda doing that. He's a perfectionist. They already mentioned this. Oops. I need to talk about every last detail. Through certain drawings. Architectural fictions, so certain errors of judgment can be corrected. So he wasn't. So succeeding and failing, right? Those are all important. I didn't have a full, so that one, guys, I didn't have a full understanding of what that paragraph was talking about, so I just started rereading some back things just to make myself lock in again. The portraits of Rembrandt. Okay. Who asked about 69A? I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this in a great way. But 69A is a perfect example. By the way, I'll stop that. So it took me about 4 minutes and 55 seconds to read that. Okay, but I'll show you guys what I mean when I go through the passages. Okay, so this is anytime you guys, we should use this video as a reason. So I've worked with a lot of different tutoring companies. I was trained, or whatever you want to call it, by just to understand the test. One of the things that drove me crazy about the ACT reading was this idea that you should read questions, or This section is called reading, not read questions first and then go try to find those questions in the passage. This is a perfect example of why that strategy to read the questions and try to jump back and forth so often is wildly inconsistent. If you guys read the first passage, and this might be the reason why this passage gave students trouble. If you guys read this passage, it would suggest, and even into this one a little bit, because that's what I thought they were going with here. If you guys read these two passages, it would suggest that this guy's going to be compared to Rembrandt, and it's going to be a comparison piece on the three of these artists mentioned here. And then there's that other strategy where you just read the first paragraph and then you read the last paragraph. Again, this section is called reading for a reason. If you read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, this would suggest that this whole thing is a comparison passage based on Rembrandt, Vermeer, and this guy, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Sanderham. That's not very important. Sandra, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. It doesn't matter though. That is the definition. That's a perfect example of a passage. Why, if you don't read the entire passage, regardless of how long it takes you, that one took us about 4 minutes and 55 seconds, but I think I know everything about that passage. There's only 90 lines of text, right? I mean, if you read that and you read it thoroughly, and you saw at one point in one of the paragraphs I had to go back because I didn't feel like I had read it very thoroughly, you understand what's going on. There's just not that much text, and the questions just aren't that hard. For example, this whole thing, right? If you read the whole passage, this whole thing is about this guy Sand and his techniques of painting churches, right? So painting buildings, right? His painting buildings. It's not about at all about Rembrandt, his more famous, right, counterparts, or Vermeer. It's only about him and his ability to paint buildings. So when we look at these questions, that's what we need to be focused on. The tone reflects a very positive tone towards this guy. Positive, right? It's a very positive tone. So that's what these questions are going to reflect. If you remember these two things, and you have the main idea down and the tone down, all of the questions will reflect that. I guarantee it happens every single time. So watch how quickly, if you really understand this passage, watch how quickly we can move through these. And then on questions that we're not totally sure of, we just move on, and then we go back and we go back and we look at the passage when we have time. Right, so it says the main purpose of the passage. The main purpose is to talk about this guy and his painting and building. Explore the relationship between drawing and painting in Dutch art. No. Examine the influence of religion on Dutch art. No. It's about one guy. Discuss the life and work of a particular 17th century Dutch artist. Yes. Rate the relative importance of the work of. See, this is rate the work of 3 17th century Dutch artists. That's such an easy one to choose. D is such an easy answer choice to choose, even though it's. I would bet anything, and we'll look at the answers after this, but anything that the answer is C to this question. Because it's not about the other three, but if you read the first paragraph and the last paragraph only, you'll pick D every time. Okay, the passage characterizes Sanderham as all of the following except. He's all of the following: predictable in his work habits, I think so. Comfortably financial. I remember reading this. Comfortable financially, because that was right after his father passed away. Passionately meticulous. He's a perfectionist. All of the following except. I think it's artistically, right? He's not artistically inferior. They say that he's their equal, I think. Don't they say that back here? The beginning? They're contemporary, and in the view of many connoisseurs, they're equal, but who doesn't enjoy the popular fame. So he's their equal. He just doesn't enjoy the popular fame that those other guys do. So I think it's J for that one. Based on the passage, how should the assertion that Sanderham painted buildings be read? I think he actually does paint buildings, as right, line 8. While they painted people, he painted buildings, church interiors, and yeah, so he's actually painting the buildings themselves. Literally decorated the interior walls. No, he painted the building. He's painting the perfect portrait. Yeah, the subject of his churches. I think the answer has to be B here. The passage most strongly implies that he viewed Haarlem. That's where he lived, right? Just to confirm, where he stayed for the rest of his life. Yeah, he moved there. So a place he was willing to leave only temporarily. Yes. The center. No. Far less agreeable than his birthplace. I don't know. A city where he could study art until he could afford it. No, it's F, right? A place where he was willing to leave only temporarily. He stayed there the rest of his life. Remember that we circled that thing about him only leaving for like 6 weeks. That was or 6 months or whatever it was, the longest he's ever left to do one painting. It can be reasonably inferred from the last paragraph that the author believes his work serves as. Okay, so I was getting off topic here and I forgot. But fiction is built into his art, such as it is into the portraits of Rembrandt. Realities of the very adjusted, edited, dramatized, simplified, church interior clutter with the release of the live benches is jotted down on paper. They're refined in a network of lines and grids, finding the painting. The container of light, golden brown, or dove gray, utopian visions, 1 foot on earth and 1 foot beyond. Okay, so it's like to say that he reminded the power of God to allow the view to transcend reality without ignoring it. Evidence of the limitations of subject matter inhibited his artistic expression, no. Because that's negative, right? Is evidence that limitations, I don't think anything, it's a positive tone. Proof that his artistic achievements surpassed those, no, it's not proof. An indication that the Dutch Golden Era reached the peak of some, it's got to be A, right? It's talking about reality, and I think it's A. Again, I'm not going to be totally sure on any of these guys because we're it's the first time we've read these things, but I think that's right. Through his comparison of Sandrum's work, and that's focused largely right here, guys. This is, again, we've done this on 2 or 3 of the 5 questions so far, main idea and tone. Through his comparison of Sandrum's work to photography, the author reveals his belief that photography is a more accurate representation of partially distortion. I think he said it partially distorted, right? I remember reading this part too. He said they're like photographs. But are they really so true? Or are they like photographs, a mix of fact, error, and wishful illusion? Yeah, so like photographs, he thinks that photographs, believe that photography partially distorts reality, right? He says that, and the only reason you can go back, okay, you can go back, guys, as much as you want, but the point of reading the whole thing is so that you create a mental image of where things were happening. You notice that I went back to the first paragraph there, or around there, because I thought that's where I read it. I read that one early on, so I knew right around where that was going to be, and so you go back and read it, and then hopefully that's the right answer. According to the passage, Sandrum's time in what location was the most fruitful of his career? It was where he was doing that, it was like Utrecht, right, I think? It was the most, yeah, look at this, guys. So anytime you see the words according to the passage means that this, and you see one-word answer choices, so this is key, because these questions are so easy. It's just like on the science section, for those that have watched our science videos, if you see these words according to the passage, and then you see answer choices with let's say 1 to 3 words each, these questions are wildly easy, and they will be stated word for word within the passage. I guarantee it. You'll see it on every test going forward. That is something that certainly has not changed since 2010. The statement in lines 63 and 67 most nearly means that, so let's go back to 63 and 67. Whole architectural histories can be read in the structural particulars. He drew civic histories and tomb inscriptions. He transcribed histories of religion and fashion and the ornaments he rendered. Few buildings, at least before Fernando, observed with such passionate care, and his songs drawings seems intent on getting every last little thing down with epic results. So he's paying attention to everything. Sandrum read extensively about the history of the church before attempting paintings, or seem more like dry historical evidence by works of art. The wealth of details in painting is less important than epic. So we read much about the history of a place. I think it's got to be J, right? Again, this reveals a positive tone as well. Okay, because it says the many precise details, that's usually a good thing, reveal much. They reveal much rather than the wealth of details is less important. This word less does not reflect the tone, so I don't think it can be H. Seems more like dry historical documents, right? This guy likes this guy. He likes Sandradam. He read extensively about the history of truth before attempting to pay, and I don't think that has to do with his ability to measure details. In the passage, the significance of June 30th, 1636 is that it is, I've circled that. I remember circling that. Did I circle that? It wasn't that, that's when it came down. Where did I circle that? When was that? Dang it, guys, where did I put that? Oh, no, it was right over here. I did underline it. We can place there to a particular church on a particular day, say June 30th. That was the day, you can place him at certain points. The day when he began painting a Gothic, the day which work can be traced using evidence in his drawings. See. As used in line 71, the word fixes most nearly means, this is where he's talking about you can fix, I think. You can fix certain things. Some could be fixed. Errors of judgment. Certain errors can be corrected later. Others are the result of their fixes. What is that? Others, you see moving, seeing, feeling, realistic, watching job. What line is that? I'm going to do 71. I agree. It's spot. Shadow fixes the time. It's like it places the time, establishes the time, corrects the time, repairs the time, hardens, establishes. So I think we got all those right, guys. For those that are still watching, I think those are right. We'll see here. Let me see if I can pull up this 69A drawing. I don't know how long that took us, but we were trying to talk through it a little bit. So I hope that's right. 69. ACT answers. Let's see, do we get them all right here? 21 is C, J, B, F, A, G, A, J, G, A, J, C, F. Yeah, guys, so we got all those ones right. So hopefully that everybody was following along with that video. I think we got all those questions right. If you guys have any questions for me, again, I'm just trying to keep you guys on track here as there's so much time. One other thing, guys, we will have a proctored practice test. If you guys have any questions, by the way, about the video after you're done watching, let us know, comment on it. But that's how I would take the test. That's a great passage. Whoever suggested that's a great passage of why it's so important to read the entire passage. If you don't read that entire passage and just read the first 2 paragraphs or skim it and go to the questions first, it is so easy to then not really understand what's going on. You guys saw that we can fly through most of these questions. You can fly through most of these questions if you really read the passage and you read it thoroughly. So I hope that helped everybody see in kind of real time why it's so important to read everything. That's a great passage, by the way. 69A passage number 3 is a great passage to point out a lot of things, like the number 27 according to the passage. If you see those types of questions, it's a good example of why it's so important to read the entire passage. It's a good passage all around. It's a good example of understanding the passage, because if you just read the first paragraph and try to understand that, it doesn't get you to where you need to be. So hopefully all that made sense, guys. If you guys have any questions, again, please feel free to comment. We're going to continue to make these videos each Monday for the reading section. And yeah. Hopefully you guys are good to go. It looks like we have a comment here about rules for English. Yeah, so we created this app. It has all of our ACT material. If you read through all this stuff, so example, punctuation, this is written by all of our ACT tutors. Question about English, like punctuation here, right? This is our book that we all write. Our tutors, current tutors, write this. If you look at the punctuation page, that gives you all the rules for punctuation that have ever shown up on the ACT. Our primary author has combed through every test since like 1999. And the good news for everybody here, if you don't want to buy that book, is that we put all of that book on our StarU tutoring app. So you can download StarU in the App Store, STARU in the App Store. And it gives you like that punctuation chapter that I just pointed out, right? So that whole thing is now available on PDFs for free. So I highly encourage you to go through all of those chapters. So yeah, again, guys, that's StarU in the App Store or Google Play. It's available to everybody. If you guys sit there and memorize all those grammar rules, if you read through them, you will be in great shape to do really well. And there's practice questions for every section of grammar. So that's definitely a good one. It's good to use for a warm-up before you actually go in and take the practice test. So yeah, StarU. In terms of the reading section, hopefully everybody got a lot out of that reading video. If you guys have any questions for us, again, please feel free to comment. Otherwise, great job, guys. We'll see you next week for the reading section. We'll have more. Oh, one last thing, CBT discussion and live chat on YouTube live this Wednesday at 4 p.m. U.S. Pacific. So that's 2 hours later than we started this video. We'll be talking about the strategies to use for the CBT exam, the computer-based testing, in case the ACT decides to go to that in lieu of everything that's going on right now. So we'll have a discussion about that on Wednesday, and 2 hours later start time than what we did for today. So hope to see you guys all there for that as well, and then we'll have other videos that are coming out throughout the week. And yeah, guys, keep it up. Keep prepping. There's uncertain times right now, but that gives you guys every opportunity and extra time to prepare that students in the past haven't had. So it should give you every indication, that this is a great time to prepare. This is a great time to study. And if you guys continue to study and put in the time, I promise you your scores will go up. It doesn't all happen at once. You guys got to do the things that we talked about at the beginning of the video to help yourself prepare. But if you do those things, you're going to be in phenomenal shape. I promise you that this thing is very doable. And yeah, I hope all that stuff helps, guys. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week. I guess it's Monday, so hopefully the week has started off on a good note. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Talk to you soon.